Alrighty, we are the Chaps Capstone group here. That stands for the Cowherd Appraisal Performance System. Our names are Trent Yeltser, Catherine Vetter, Kyle Petrowski, and Nathan Rohr. Our agenda in this presentation here is to first introduce what is Chaps and what our tasks were regarding it. We'll discuss the challenges that we faced while finishing those tasks, as well as our approach for uh, accomplishing those goals, as well as obviously the goals that we accomplished. We will be skipping the demo in this shorter video here, but we will talk about what we learned throughout this class and what the future plans for the CHAPS system are. First, a little introduction here. The CHAPS system was a project that began several years ago with the goal of updating an old Windows-based application to give it a few look and add some new features. The product design has changed several times over the course of its life. It is now a browser-based application running on a central Tomcat server using MySQL as the database. The front end works with Laravel and JavaScript, and the problem that we were tasked with fixing for this was that the system was mostly complete, but there were some really core bugs that really needed to be resolved before it could be released.
So some of the issues that we were tasked with fixing were the port to Linux, which was partially complete, but still had some issues preventing it from working. We also were working with some of the JavaScript that was giving inconsistent results in some of the PDFs that were being compiled. And we were also tasked with looking at the connection between the front end and the back end, which was not working since the front end became secure. Specific challenges in solving those issues. The code initially was a mess, and so we had to spend our initial time working on understanding what had been going on. Since there had been multiple people working on the project, it wasn't quite clear what was happening where. Some of the MySQL queries were really complex, and additionally, our group had little experience with Tomcat, so trying to find those server issues were difficult. The formula guide also had a couple inconsistencies with what equations were correct, and we were unable to rerun any of the code once we changed it to see if our fixes had actually fixed things and how it would respond. Um, we also had some slow turnaround between us and our project coordinator, which doesn't fall on either of us specifically, but it just was how it kind of turned out.
And so our approach to handling the issues and challenges of the project were to review most of the code and familiarize ourselves as a group, primarily through sharing our screens throughout our weekly meetings. On top of that, we also set up our own product backlog and prioritization, and many of our reports were filed during those weekly meetings that we would present to our project coordinator at the end of each week. And many of those reports would detail our progress, questions we had, and information that we had found while investigating issues, as including bug reports and code segments. As for goals that we accomplished this semester working on the project, we found some calculation errors, database accuracy, and outdated packages that were outdated by a few years, and also investigated front and back end connection issues, while also creating a document, especially towards the end of the semester, that detailed the setting up of Docker to fix the connection environment issues that came as a result from porting to Linux from Windows.
So as we had said before, we're not going to do a demo in this short video, so I'll go ahead and move ahead with what we learned. One thing that we learned while working on this project is communicating with the project coordinator ahead of time on what we'll need to move forward and make progress is definitely a good approach to take, instead of waiting for a few times we had waited until we needed something to ask for it, and then here we are waiting for a week for stuff to get around and not being able to work on what we want to work on. Our team became more proficient at reviewing code. That is one thing we excelled at, because we had to do a lot of. We learned how to make better use of Chrome DevTools. We gained some new knowledge on livestock and the jargon associated with it. and we were able to practice some new frameworks and technologies such as Tomcat, Laravel, and Docker. So some of our future plans, not as our team, but for um, the project hopes to implement Docker on the Chaps system. And when I say that, I mean to use Docker to containerize the web application, Tomcat, and then also the database, MySQL. We hope that they update documentation and the file organization of the Chaps product. It's kind of messy. Also, there's some inconsistencies with equations on the documentation, which made troubleshooting some of the calculation errors quite difficult. And we also hope that the Chaps system has some updated packages here in the future because some of them are out of date by a few years.
So in conclusion here, this presentation we introduced the Chaps system, we discussed our issues and challenges that we faced, we stated what we were tasked with doing and how we approached and delivered on those tasks. Once again, we did not demo for this short video, but yeah, we recapped what we learned and we introduced the plans for the future Chaps system.
If you have any questions, please feel free to ask us. Thank you.